Hey guys, welcome to my channel. And the first thing I want to say in this video is that this is a video where you need to have absolutely less knowledge about astrology. If you know the basics, that might do. Even if you're new to astrology, I don't see why you can't make sense of this video. Why? Because this is going to be on a very generalized topic. I'm going to be connecting astrology with your daily routine and your food habits and talk about how to charge your energy, power up your Mars in the most positive way possible. Now, Mars rules Aries and it co-rules the sign Scorpio. Now, in the natural zodiac order, these are the first and the eighth houses respectively. Now, the first house signifies birth. It signifies new beginnings, right? And the eighth house, it signifies death, rebirth. So what does this suggest? This suggests that the soul needs to go through the cycle of rebirth and death, and again rebirth, only because of Mars and not having enough blessings of Ketu to attain that salvation. Now, many people think it's Venus which is responsible for our passions, and Rahu, which gives us that insatiable desire, is the reason for our rebirth. But that's not entirely true. I can say that Mars has a lot of weightage when it comes to rebirth. Mars represents our subconscious passions. It is our basal instinct. It is our primal emotion. And unless this gets addressed and relinquished with the help of Ketu, the process of rebirth may keep continuing. So it becomes very important for us to understand this planet. And before we delve deep into understanding Mars, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below and smash that like button, and also leave a comment in the comment section about your thoughts on astrology and what kind of impact astrology has had on your life. And I absolutely love listening to your stories. Okay, so let's begin. In astrology, Aries is traditionally associated with attributes like assertiveness, courage, being headstrong, and it also represents leadership qualities. Now, Mars, as the planet of action and energy, is believed to amplify these qualities. So, if you want to know how assertive a person is, or how competitive a person is, then what you got to do is to look at their Mars in their birth chart. And their birth chart will reveal a gamut of things. Whether the Mars is a strong Mars or a weak Mars, whether it's going to give them benefic results or malefic results based on their ascendant, which planet is aspecting it, conjoining it, what house is Mars placed in, what is the degree of Mars, when is the dasha of Mars. All of this helps us to capture a more precise image of how Mars is going to behave for that person. But irrespective of how good that Mars is, Humans have a tendency of messing things up. Why? Because of their free will. Remember, you have free will. Okay? And even though you may have a benefic Mars, you can mess that up by your own free will. I know that's a horrible thing to say about free will. It's a double-edged knife. It works both ways. You can use it in the positive way or also in a way that you mess up your good karmas because of ignorance. I'm sure some of you might agree. Now, coming back to the topic, while Aries is symbolized by the ram, especially in Western astrology, it is important to note that a ram is a male sheep, not really a goat. I'll get to the point in a minute, but I want to clarify this before we proceed because that's when everything will make sense. Now, I've heard some astrologers, even those who are very astute in this science, calling the ram as a goat. Rams are known for their prominent horns and assertive behavior during mating seasons, which might contribute to the association with Aries and its astrological traits. However, the claim that Aries represents a male goat is factually incorrect. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because I want to discuss a particularly sensitive topic, which involves consuming sheep or any kind of poisonous creature and its consequent effect. Remember, Mars also co-rules Scorpio, which is a poisonous creature. I'm not against meat eating. I'm not saying all non-vegetarian foods are bad. Maybe specific foods definitely are. Or they give you certain tendencies that you need to be mindful of. But remember, that doesn't mean that I endorse non-vegetarian food. Any which way, that's immaterial now. Because the world needs all kinds of people. Now, Mars generally tends to give negative effects when you consume sheep or any kind of poisonous creatures like snakes, scorpion, pufferfish, banana spiders. I don't mean to gross you out, but there are cultures, there are specific communities in the world which consume these kind of foods. And by consuming them, it becomes part of your blood. It becomes part of your energy. And then they manifest in different ways. There exists a lot of anecdotal as well as scientific evidence on the effect of food on not only the human body but also the mind. The Bhagavad Gita talks about 3 types of food: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. And it says that all these foods have an effect on your body and also on your mind. In a way, not only does the mind affect your body, but your body can release chemicals in the form of hormones like dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin, and all of this can bring about changes in your mind. Also, the other way is where there's a feeling of happiness from within. Let's say that your friend from abroad is visiting you. He was your childhood friend, and he's coming to the airport, and you need to go and pick him up at 6 in the morning. You might not be ready to wake up at 6 in the morning every day, But since your friend is coming and you have a lot of catching up to do, and now you want to wake up as early as possible, get ready and get moving. You're full of enthusiasm. See how the mind works? Now, this can also release happy hormones, which can have a consequent effect on your body. So, on that day, the dullness and whatever difficulty you're going through kind of takes a backseat. So, the reason I'm telling you this is because, strictly speaking, there's no perfect Cartesian duality that Rene Descartes talked about. Clearly, mind influences the body and body influences the mind. It works both ways. Now, consumption of sheep or lamb makes Mars give negative effects. Now, it's possible that it may make you aggressive, more susceptible to anger, or it's most likely that you're given to impulsive behavior. Not necessarily violent, although there's a possibility of that. Mars also represents male energy. So the feeling of jealousy is kind of strong when Mars is strong. And as far as poisonous creatures go, it could be anything ranging from enhanced sexual energy, which might push you in the wrong direction, to having a cruel outlook on life, where feelings take a backseat. Now, this is such a sensitive topic. I know that many people don't want to listen to someone telling them what to eat and what not to. And I'm well aware that I'm doing this at the cost of drawing criticism from people. But remember, I'm not against any kind of non-vegetarian food. And this video is not against non-vegetarian foods. But mostly specific kind of meats. I am just giving you information about specific kind of foods that might make you violent or aggressive. I give it a try with an open mind. Why not confirm that it doesn't? Maybe you can experiment and we can write it off, right? Now, I believe that meat eating, especially sheep or lamb, will give you a malefic Mars. A Mars which will push you to do sinful acts. Or Mars can give you a very malefic result. You may have a functionally benefic and exalted Mars in your chart, but eating these foods will turn that Mars malefic and make it give you malefic results. That is the free will part. Now, what kind of malefic results are we talking about? I talked about aggression, impulsive behavior, but is aggression really a bad thing? Maybe, but that depends on the context. It depends on the timing of your aggression or when you get aggressive. This is a very good tendency to have when you are faced with difficult situations and you need to perform with aggression in order to succeed. It's your survival instinct. But if you get aggressive for the wrong reasons and start doing things to satisfy your ego, then that's a tendency of a negative Mars. And like I said, Mars is your survival instinct and impulsive behavior. And this kind of behavior is a welcome tendency in soldiers who are guarding the country's borders. They may be very nice people within their community, within their country with their own countrymen. But when they're guarding their borders, they tend to become absolutely terrifying, a force to reckon with. That's a functionally benefic Mars. And now Mars takes split second decisions based on instinct and impulse in order to defend the country, to protect oneself from the onslaught of the enemy. Now, if you've noticed the movie Top Gun, there's more than one occasion where Tom tells other people not to think but take the plunge. Thinking too much may make soldiers incur heavy losses, so they need to be quick or they'd be dead. Now, that's a Mars which is functionally benefic. Whereas a malefic Mars is one who refuses to compete in a very straight manner. He's willing to do anything it takes to win that competition. By lying, cheating, stealing. That kind of Mars is a negative Mars, where there's very less sportsmanship. And a malefic Mars, in the long run, will only give you bad results. You may feel like you're succeeding initially, but it's going to push you deep down into that rabbit hole of controversies. So you better watch out for that. Now, what else can we categorize under malefic results? Mars rules the blood. And eating meat, especially red meat, which is found in goat, mutton, sheep, beef, is especially bad for your heart. I'm not really sure about goat, but it's definitely true with sheep. And sheep, when compared to goat, lacks nutritional value and it has high cholesterol. Now, what is sheep? Sheep is Aries. There's a lot of scientific evidence out there that shows consuming red meat is bad for your health. You can Google for this, especially because it can cause cardiovascular diseases, diseases of the heart. Now, what other diseases can Mars give you? Mars can give you acute fevers that burns the body, because Mars is a fiery energy. It can give you inflammatory complaints. Smallpox, measles, burns, all of these are connected with Mars. And since Mars rules the blood, it can rupture your blood vessels or cause injury by iron or steel, bruises. It can cause hemorrhages. It can cause ulcers. Mars rules the muscle, so muscular rheumatism, muscular dystrophy, decreased mobility, making everyday tasks difficult. All of this is possible if you have a malefic Mars. Mars rules over surgery. So you could end up having many surgeries if your Mars is malefic. Mars is property. He is the significator of land. So if Mars is bad, then he could take away your property. Mars is the battlefield. So injury by fire, bullets, knives are all possible with a bad Mars. Mars also co-rules the Scorpio zodiac sign. which represents sexual energy. Being secretive. So here Mars can give one an overly active sexual energy or underactive sexual energy. Both are very bad. And skin diseases of all kinds can be seen from a malefic Mars. I'll let you give it a thought. A weak Mars or a debilitated Mars in the sign of Cancer indicates low energy level. And when it is functionally malefic, especially due to the eating habits, Mars increases the lack of motivation and drive in these people. They could become too laid back, dull, and possibly fatigued. And with a debilitated Mars, this tendency can be more pronounced. It can make it difficult for these people to take action and pursue their goals. If you have a debilitated Mars, which is also functionally malefic, then inaction can be the problem. You could end up eating a lot of fried and oily foods, but you may not be working out as much as you should. You may not be having an exercise routine. And if you don't do anything to burn that fat, what this does is, again, it builds up a lot of cholesterol, and you could face diseases of the heart. It clogs your arteries. There's so much more to Mars. Mars is your fight or flight behavior. So let's assume that you're taking a stroll in a forest area and you're confronted by a wild animal. Now what do? You either fight back or you start running. That kind of action which comes without thought process, without thinking too much, that is Mars. The fight or flight behavior in psychology is ruled by Mars. And now let's assume you have an exalted Mars, and now because of your eating habits, you have enraged the Mars, which could give you malefic results. Now what would that be? With an exalted but malefic Mars, you may have a tendency to exert dominance. You may want to show your dominating power and control over others, often through manipulative or coercive means, especially if you have a malefic Mercury conjoining Mars. An exalted but malefic Mars can give you a tendency to seek authority and impose one's will without regard for the feelings or needs of other people. So what does this do? This can strain relationships. It can create power struggles, but it's not your fault. It's just your basal instinct to act that way. You feel cornered most of the time. It's like a cat that's boxed into a corner, and it has no other option but to pounce on you. That's Mars. And an enraged Mars can also lead you to take risky and impulsive decisions that can cause cuts, bruises, accidents, surgeries. Mars rules sudden events. So exalted or debilitated Mars is a planet that you don't want on your bad side. It undoubtedly spells disaster. Whether you already have a malefic Mars in your birth chart or you're facing these situations because of your present eating habits, which is giving you these effects, remember, changing your diet or what you eat can definitely change your life forever. Many successful people are what they are because of a good Mars. If it works negatively, they wouldn't have achieved whatever it is that they have today. Thank God for their Mars. Mars is your go getter attitude, it's your drive, your burning ambition, your desire. Imagine someone where all of this is absent. It signifies a very dull life, at least as far as materialistic life goes, with very little ups and downs. But that's where Ketu takes over, showing you the way to salvation, because he co rules the 8th house along with Mars. And if the idea of salvation fascinates you, then you need to strengthen your Ketu. And coming back, eating the right kind of foods can make your Mars give you benefic results. Sometimes miraculously making Mars behave in a benefic way in its exalted state. Now, one of the more easier ways of getting around a malefic Mars is probably opting a vegetarian diet. But remember, vegetarian diets have spicy foods or sour foods which may contribute to bad health if consumed in excess. So, by including foods that are more friendly towards balancing the energies in your body, you could get the blessings of the planet Mars. And one of the best ways is to look for fruits or vegetables that are red in color. When you go to the supermarket, you notice vegetables which are very red or very green. Try to pick them up and include them as part of your diet. Make a salad or cook them and consume them. Tomatoes are good. Pomegranates are better, especially if you're prone to cardiovascular diseases because of a bad Mars. Red cherries, they're good for your Mars. And another food that's associated with Mars is red wine. You may have concerns of alcohol, but red wine, the non alcoholized version, when you consume it in moderation, it is believed to provide cardioprotective effects. How? Because of a plant compound called resveratrol, which is shown to be useful in treating anything ranging from cardiovascular disease to dementia and arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease of the joints. That is also a work of malefic Mars. Remember, keeping your muscles flexible and eating the right foods may help you reverse those effects. Now, the other thing you can do is to have a regular exercise routine. It could be yoga or it could be exercise. If you're interested in martial arts, you can go for that because Mars is the god of war. It loves martial arts. It loves strength training. But if you have a weak moon and a weak Mars, making it difficult for you to concentrate on exercises, you may choose visualization exercises, which promote strength, resilience, and assertiveness. And if you have a debilitated Mars and also face digestive issues, then you may want to ignite the digestive flame. You could practice Agnisara Pranayama. And what is Agni? Agni is fire. In this context, it is the fire onto which all is offered, especially the food we eat. So the Agnisara pranayama activates the digestive fire. But it's also important that you become mindful of what you eat and when you eat. You should avoid drinking too much water before and after your breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And a good Mars will give you the energy to utilize it in the most positive way possible. He channels his energy in competitive sports, in competitive examinations, anything that involves competing to win medals or rewards or laurels. Some of you may know of Neeraj Chopra, who is now the reigning Olympic champion in the javelin throw. And Neeraj Chopra was born on 24th December 1997. And when you look at his chart, you can see that he has an exalted Mars. Forget the ascendant, just look at his chart. You'll see he has his Mars in the Capricorn sign. That itself shows that he is very competitive by nature. He may have Jupiter and Venus conjoining the Mars, but Mars alone is enough to give you a competitive edge. And now you can search for his food habits. And when you do, you'll realize that he leans heavily on vegetables and fruits. And also non-vegetarian food, which is a good source of protein, containing less fat. Okay, that's mostly his diet. Give it a try, experiment. You'll see the benefits of going on a completely vegetarian diet involving vegetables and fruits which are red in color. Save your heart. That is the key to empowering your Mars. And if all of this is too daunting for you, because your Mars is too weak to even find the motivation to strengthen itself, then maybe you can observe a fast on Tuesdays, which is considered beneficial to balance the energy of Mars. You could consume a simple vegetarian diet, avoiding non-veg foods or alcohol immediately after the fast. Fasting is believed to purify and strengthen the connection with Mars's energy. Right? You can also consider gemstone therapy. And for Mars, the gemstone is a red coral or a bloodstone. Both of these are believed to influence and enhance the energy of Mars. But remember, gemstones have many finer aspects to it. You can also check my video on gemstones to help you give a basic idea of how gemstones work. And if you're completely new to astrology, I would recommend that you consult with a qualified astrologer or gemstone expert before wearing any kind of gemstone. And if you have Mangal dosh, because of Mars is in the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 7th, 8th, and 12th houses from the ascendant, then I wouldn't recommend gemstone therapy for Mars. Like I said, gemstone remedies aren't always very straightforward. I've always believed them to be made for a lucky few people. So you need you need an expert to tell you if that stone is going to work for you or otherwise. Okay, and Mars rules the south direction in Vastu Shastra. So how you maintain this place in your house will reflect the energy of Mars. Mars is a fiery energy. So if you have a kitchen in the south, that might work for you. Southeast is the direction of the kitchen. That's where your kitchen is supposed to be. But if you have a bathtub in the southeast direction or in the south direction, then that might weaken your Mars. You should ideally try to remove any kind of water element in the southeast direction. Now, astrology is not a replacement for Vastu Shastra. It is a science of its own, and I don't want to delve deep into Vastu Shastra in this video. And another thing that you can do is perform regular worship dedicated to Mars. This can also bring down its malefic influence. You can offer red flowers, red lentils, jaggery, or any kind of sweet made of jaggery to Lord Kartikeya or Hanuman. You may even try lighting a ghee lamp or incense sticks while reciting Mars related prayers or mantras. Mars is like Deepak, you know, and Sun is Surya. He burns, he is all encompassing. Anyway, there are specific mantras called Shanti mantras for a malefic Mars. You can recite them. And you can also donate red lentils in charity to needy people. If you live in a place where there are a lot of monkeys, then you can feed the monkeys. All of this will enhance the good effects of Mars. And if you have Mars in the 12th house, it could give you loss of blood or bring about some kind of blood related disorder. So it's best to donate blood even before the loss happens. That way you're taking care of the 12th house and also donating blood, which will earn some good karmic points. Mars represents your brothers. So having a good Mars is paramount for having a good relationship with your brother and also in giving them the courage and willpower to face the vagaries of life. So try to be nice to your brother, especially the younger one. That way you're automatically appeasing your Mars. And I talked about Mars being a soldier. So donating for the welfare of soldiers or police force or even war widows can provide blessings from the god of war. And speaking of soldier-like behavior, if Mars's fiery energy is too much for you to handle and you want to tone down that energy, you can consider doing it through cooling and grounding foods like leafy greens, root vegetables, whole grains. These can help maintain equilibrium and prevent excessive aggression or restlessness. Now, I know that all of this may work for you in the short run, but as time passes by, it may fizzle out after the initial few days. But it's important that you continue this streak to draw the benefic results of Mars. You need to take intentional and focused action despite your unwillingness to do it. engage in an action for 5 minutes and then you tend to keep going. So you need to push yourself in achieving that goal. That's how you strengthen that Mars. Goal setting, I cannot stress the importance of goal setting. You'll find plenty of articles over the internet on the importance of goal setting. You need to work with a goal in mind. That's Mars. Having a purpose, that is Mars. Now, I live in a cold region and I literally pull myself up from the bed every day in the morning to take a jog. And I wake up very early in the morning. And the only reason that stops me from waking up is because my bed is usually warmer than the outside weather. And who doesn't like to relax in bed? But now I do it very ritually. I haven't taken a break in over a year. And I'm going to inspire you by telling this. I have a debilitated Mars and also a malefic Mars with no aspect from any benefic planet. And I have personally found great help in practicing whatever it is that I have spoken about today. Let me tell you that empowering Mars is a journey of self-discovery and personal growth, which can lead you to greater assertiveness, courage, and fulfillment. Everybody dies. Anybody who takes birth has to go through the process of aging and eventually leave the body. This is a fact. We don't know how long we're going to be alive. But what matters is how fulfilling is the life that you're leading. Whether it is name, fame, success, the kind of satisfaction you get knowing you're number one and the master of your trade cannot be equated with anything else. It's a surge of positive energy, and that revitalizes your body as well as your mind. You gain many years of life just by being content and fulfilled. Thank you for joining me on this journey to empower your Mars. I wish you all the very best. If this video helped you in understanding Mars and how to harness the power of Mars and to discover your true strength, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. Remember, you have the power to shape your destiny. Keep exploring, keep believing, and keep striving, just like the way of the Mars. I'll see you again in the next astrological journey.